Welcome back to Waiting on the Trade, the Dream Journal. I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck, and as always, I'm joined by Matthew Ledger.
Hello.
And Michael Drew.
How's it be?
Okay, gents, this episode we're discussing the second to the last volume of the Sandman, The Kindly Ones. So it's very important we strictly follow the format of the show. No breaking the rules and going off on tangents. The repercussions would surely be grave. Don't ask why. These rules were made way back at the start of the series, okay? So obviously we should treat them seriously. Got it?
We have a responsibility. I understand.
Good. All right, Matt, let's hear that synopsis.
I feel like you might have been making a meta commentary there. I'm not sure.
No.
Not positive.
Mm-mm.
Anyways, the synopsis, I have one of those. In The Kindly Ones, many of the loose threads from previous Sandman volumes are woven together, pulled taut, and cut to their final length. At volume's end, the dreaming is changed forever, as are many of the mortals who have previously crossed the Endless's paths. Guys, I took 13 chapters, 13 meandering chapters, and I condensed them into 2 sentences that don't quite actually say anything.
But it alludes to the Furies of the Fates, so it's fine. It's all good. No, that's the same thing when I was looking up the synopsis, like just to refresh my memory, because it took me a while to get through this thing to the point where I couldn't quite remember what happened in the first half of it. So I just wanted a quick synopsis of, what's going on in this? And everything I read was like maybe 3 to 4 sentences of summary. It's like,
I mean, it's because there's so much going on that I think you have to jettison so much of it for someone to be able to follow a synopsis. Because otherwise, the story itself as 13 parts does actually track and kind of make sense. We'll get into it. But if you start, as soon as you start picking at it and pulling at it, I think you just start losing stuff. Stuff just starts coming free because some of the stuff's very tangentially attached. So
I just think anytime you get past the 10th volume, yeah, you're pushing it.
10th issue, you mean?
10th issue, yeah.
Yeah.
10th issue.
13, right? And that's not counting the little prologue thing.
Yeah, there's a prologue. Is there an epilogue? No, there's not.
No, there is an epilogue. It's the next volume of Sandman.
Damn it.
I mean, there sort of is. The Kindly Ones open and close it. But, God, this is the first time that having the physical copy of a volume, I feel like, was a detriment. This thing is so awkward to hold and read while you're laying down in bed. I told the guys before we recorded that it's hit me in the face a few times, which did not improve my liking of it. So,
I mean, from the postscript in my volume, Neil Gaiman would be happy that you were unhappy about it hitting you in the face and causing you harm. As he says, in hardback at least, can undoubtedly be used to stun a burglar, which has always been my definition of real art.
Well, you did it, Neil.
You
did
Neil,
it.
Finally, after 8 volumes, here we are in the 9th one, and this is a real.
Is this one? What's the 6th volume? I can't remember what it's called right now. But I remember that one as being almost as big, but I still feel this one's even bigger. It's just it's intimidating.
One of the collected ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fables and Reflections?
There we go. Fables and Reflections. I think that's right. I think that's probably the second longest volume. Second to this, of course.
I don't know. I was actually
but even that, I can get through that.
Oh yeah, Fables and Reflections was pretty. No, Fables and Reflections not that big actually.
Okay.
It's like 7 issues and an annual special, whatever they call it.
Sure.
Can't even just call it an annual. Come on, Neil.
Putting on airs. Come on.
Yeah, I was telling Pat actually, this is the volume I think that the most so far, which makes sense because there's so much being pulled forward in this, right? That makes me wish I actually owned the volumes instead of checking them out from my library the whole time. Because there are so many times I wanted to go back and look at stuff for references or how did this person exactly get here and what happened at the end of that story. Or did this happen on page or not? And this one I think would have been the nicest one to have the rest of it available for.
Sure. I mean, it's the one where he's trying to pull in all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's all of it. And I think so. We're gonna talk about the volume being a chore to read. Spoiler. But like, I did have an easier time reading it the second time through and actually enjoyed it in a way that the first time I definitely had to drag myself through it a bit. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I just like caught it on bad days the first time, or I'm not sure. Maybe we should just jump into your question at this
I was going
point.
to say, should we do my question first, or should we do Mike's first of two questions first?
No, it's only one question. We can't break the format, Patrick. We have a responsibility.
Shit. Oh my God, that's true.
I think we're already on yours, Pat, so let's just take it.
Okay. All right. Well, my question, I don't even know which better way to read it, but screw it. Why is this volume such a chore to read?
You had it rewritten to make
I
it
did.
more diplomatic.
I did.
This is gonna be. We're gonna. I
Not
feel
to
like we're gonna
taint
go
the-
hard in this one.
Not to bias my opinion all over that question, but
it's
why?
thick. It is. I don't know if it's the art or it's.
I do.
I mean, I can see the art as being off-putting. I don't. That wasn't what caused me to. It's just so. It's dense. This is dense. Like I almost feel like I'm not, but I almost feel like I'm trying to get through a book in the Bible at some points.
That's a little rough. I think this is
Yeah.
for sure the most like HBO season of a show collection of Sandman. Like this is the closest to it being The Wire that Sandman has been, in the way that The Wire is just like sometimes very, very slow to get through, and you're just like, all right, let's get to a thing, and then you do finally get to a thing, and you're like, it was worth it.
But like, there's character growth, and like, you actually care about the characters. I don't like Hippolyta Hall's travel to get to the kindly ones was so boring.
It was rough, yeah.
Like, what happened, you guys?
Organs.
Yeah, what was that? What was that?
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know, man.
And like, did they need to look like Zelda and her sister? Because that was confusing too. Because they weren't Zelda and her sister; they were actually.
no, I don't
They
even
did
think
look
they
like
were
Zelda.
supposed to be close to them. But now that you say it,
They
I
look
do
exactly
remember
like
thinking that.
Zelda and her sister. They got
They
the
do, yeah.
wedding dresses and veils.
Which aren't even her people, also, right? Like,
No.
It's Medusa's sisters. I don't.
so many threes.
Yeah, I think my problem. Well, I'm gonna say, Mike, you said your bit. It's thick, right? Just the sheer amount to get through was daunting for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is. It is a lot to get through. Like especially after reading the book 8, World's End. Like
Mhm.
it was a six volumes. There's 6 volumes. I'm saying volumes. 6 issues in that.
Roughly,
Some,
yeah, something like that.
some much shorter, and this is literally double that. And
Double plus one, actually.
double plus one. And I again, I do like this issue, and it's the penultimate, so I can't say that it doesn't deserve to be as long as it is. I just feel like it's daunting to get through, especially when you're now being called on to remember every character in this, and trying to remember their backstories, going back through the previous eight collections, and it does get tiring. Like there's a lot to try to remember if you're trying to understand it all. It's a tough read.
I do think for the most part it does a decent job of reintroducing people when they show up, at least enough to give you the context to keep moving. So I don't actually fault that for it. I am looking at your overall list of plots and subplots that you pasted in our Google Doc, Pat, and you're missing stuff. Like it's 12 bullet points or whatever, 10, and you're still like, I just flipping through and I saw the pages where he meets up with Hob. And like,
oh yeah,
like there's just so much.
Oh yeah, that happened.
And it's also kind of slow. So like it's both dense and decompressed at the same time, which is really weird as a feeling. And like maybe it's supposed to feel like that. Maybe it's supposed to be like this weird strung out car crash that we call life, but it's like it's supposed to evoke that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah, to accentuate like what Dream is going through. It feels. Like we were talking earlier, Matt, that like we aren't fans of the art style itself primarily. Like sometimes it looks really cool, but when it's the entirety or like the majority of the volume is the same, like simplistic cartoon, like sharp edges.
Yeah, and I think the thing that like really gets me about this one is that so many of the pages are very
Yeah,
structured and like
tedious of like the layout, the format of the page is also just like it wears you down. Just like
it's a lot of like very repetitive 6-panel square grids. There's some 8-panel grids. Like there's every once in a while it'll break the borders for some sort of like fun dream thing, but like it's very much within its its rigid borders. And again, maybe that's on purpose because like we're part of the whole thing, right? Is that like Dream's stuck within his rigid self, and we're seeing the result of that and him coming to terms with what he's going to do about that. So like maybe that's on
maybe
purpose. Maybe it's just how the artist draws. I'm not sure, but like I don't know. I do think the art is not overall for me. Like it's very good in places, and then it's very just like over.
there are certain
Oh.
scenes that it's very cool, like the contrast and stuff that he does. He does lots of fun stuff with outlines, with what do you call them? Silhouettes. Really
Yeah,
creative with
like
Dream.
the inking I think is actually really done well. Like there's lots of really stark blacks that play well with the style of the artist. So
Hmm.
like that I will give it props for. And there are definitely issues like I think later on in the volume actually I kind of fall into it a little bit more.
No, I'm the first half of this is my like I really don't like. Second half I enjoyed immensely. Like I read the second half of this in one sitting, and it took me how long has it been, guys? A couple months to
Yeah,
read
it's
the
been a
first
little rough.
half. So like when I actually sat down and like got to the second half, I was like, oh, this is actually interesting and compelling, and I need to see what happens. That was not how I was feeling when I was following Hippolyta through alleyways and talking to Gorgon sisters.
That's what makes me describe it actually as like an HBO series. Like that's a peak HBO series feel to me, where you're like the first 3 episodes are set up, and you kind of have to pull yourself along a little bit. But once you get to like episode 4, like dominoes start falling, and you're just running through that thing. I
Sure.
like for that reason. Actually, I was thinking the other day about like how are they going to adapt this one for Netflix if they get this far?
If they get all the way to the
I
kindly
don't
ones.
know. It seems like it'll be it seems like it's 2 seasons worth of content by itself at least.
I feel like a
I mean,
lot of it could be trimmed down.
I
if
mean
they're
there is
making a
that
season
like
out of some of the other volumes, this is gonna have to be too. Like, if you're making a season out of book 8,
it assumes they get to like season 8 or 9 and then they make 2 more seasons after that. Like I don't know that's going to happen. It's Netflix, right? The era of streaming is dead.
Mm.
But
I
that's a
don't know. It's
separate podcast.
just the plotting is so thick in this.
But it is also intricate at the same time. Like I think
I
there
mean,
are things you could pull out. I think you could pull out the
it's
angles
intricate,
and
but I
house
would say
stuff.
it's convoluted. Like it's weighed down by unnecessary. Like, do you remember these characters in this instance, in this event that happened? Like, let me just run through my plots and subplot list.
Yeah, and we can try to add the stuff on top of it that's missing
Yeah,
from what you previously described as a Rube Goldberg machine.
yeah, which it is. Oh god, yeah. So the A plot is obviously Hippolyta Hall finding her way to the kindly ones, using their powers to kill Dream because she wrongly thinks that he stole and roasted her son to a crisp. So that's A plot. That A plot alone is super complicated because you've got Thessaly in there protecting her physical body, and then you've got what Nuala in there to randomly call Dream away from the dreaming to allow the kindly ones to destroy the dreaming when he's gone. And then what? There's the subplot in that plot that is Loki and Robin Goodfellow, who are the ones that actually killed, or, sorry, not killed, kidnapped
Yeah.
and faked the death of Daniel.
If
And
anything,
we,
they unkilled him. They're burning away his mortality. So
is that what it
they
is?
made
Like
him
they killed
better.
his mortal form? I was lost in that bit.
Yeah, I think so. And like, I think part of that's the setup for him being able to become Dream is like he's like Daniel's part of the dreaming and part not, and I think they burned away the part that's not.
That wasn't the human
Yeah.
half. Okay. But then and then we got Matthew and Corinthian 2.0 trying to find him for Dream.
Okay. Corinthian is a
cops.
snack. Good God. Sorry. Gotta point that out.
He's not
Probably
my
the
type
best-
personally.
You know what? Well, that's on you because if you don't look at, put some eyes in those mouths, and oh boy, we got a stew cooking.
I think the Corinthian is supposed to be hot. I think he's supposed to have
He's
a.
like maybe late 90s hot. I don't know. I'm not into it.
I'm pretty sure in the what is it? Seasons of not Seasons of Mist. Brief Lives? No. What's the one where Rose Walker shows up?
That's like way at the beginning, right?
Doll's House? Is that where
Yeah.
we find her?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure in that one, all the people were hitting on.
Yeah, they think
Corinthian.
he's sexy for sure.
So I think he's supposed to be physically attractive. It's part of his allure.
Serial killer mystique. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So yeah, Mike, you're not alone.
Okay.
You're also messed up, but that's okay.
What
Oh, yeah.
else is new?
Cluricon creates his nemesis, which again, you
that
could
has
argue
nothing
is
to do with anything, right?
you
That's
could
just
argue
a
it's
thing.
extraneous, except Dream created his nemesis in this, so it kind of fits. Like a lot of the stuff that doesn't really matter plot wise really fits theme wise. So again, I like other than the
It
angels
fits
and
theme
hell,
wise, but at the same time,
is it necessary? I will tell you, is it necessary? I don't exactly think so.
so yeah, Lucifer playing in a piano bar, not necessary. Like that's just, do you remember Seasons of Mist and all that stuff? All of Rose Walker, did that need to be in there? Like she revisits the house where Dream is imprisoned. We see the dude who's still trapped in his nightmares. She
Yep.
gets to talk to her grandfather, Desire, which is cool, but it has no bearing on the A plot of the kindly ones going after Dream.
It does wrap you around into relearning about Roderick Burgess or whatever his name is from Volume 1, which I think you wouldn't like. We're already talking about like not remembering who people are, right? Like I think without someone getting you there to check in on him, you don't give a shit when he wakes up at the end.
But like I'm saying, don't even show him waking up. Like just let him let
I
that
actually
strand go away.
I liked closing the circle on that. Actually, I think that was good.
But it hasn't, like, it's not necessary. Like, I don't know. And then Delirium and her dog, cute. It is nice to see Delirium talk to her sibling. Like, Destiny was cool. But again, not really necessary for the A plot of the thing.
Says you.
It says me.
I think, frankly, the most important part of this book is Barnabas.
Barnabas.
I think he is the glue that holds the volume together. Barnabas and the story of finding him.
Mike, you've
Good
got to
job.
be serious here. We've only got like 2 more of these left to go. You gotta lock it down and get serious, Mike.
I like Barnabas. He's never gonna take his eyes off Delirium for another second. Good job.
Like, I enjoyed that part, but Mike, your biggest hurdle was the thickness of it. I'm trying to hack away at some of the thickness, and you're trying to keep the fatty bits of Barnabas. You gotta let him go.
You know what? Barnabas deserves to be fatty. He's a good boy.
All
He
right,
deserves.
Mike, then you can't complain about the thickness of this volume.
I will. You're not wrong, but also I like Barnabas. Sorry.
I think I would have trimmed some of Lyda's weird wandering. I would have trimmed the angels.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know how much. Like, I don't know what else I would start pulling at though, honestly. Because like even the stuff again that is extraneous, I think gives it flavor and like walks you from point A to B to C. That without that connective tissue, you, like some of it starts to not make sense. Like I actually like the Lucifer bits. Like I liked getting to check in with him again, and I liked his perspective on what's happening to Dream, like vis-a-vis like his own situation.
I feel
Like, I
like
enjoyed
that could have been addressed in an epilogue. That could have been addressed in the Wake, like the next volume. We get to see what all the other entities that had dealings with or relationships with Dream, what they feel about a new Dream.
I mean that's maybe reasonable.
Like we didn't need to be in this because the A plot is so convoluted by itself that throwing in all this extra stuff just bogs it down that much more.
I do also wonder if partly it is like meant to be purposefully distracting, if that makes sense. Like to kind of like the thing is kind of a whole like magic trick suicide. Like keep your eyes over here while Dream's killing himself over here. Like
Well, yeah, I mean, this is getting into one of Mike's questions, but like Are we supposed to think that Dream like subconsciously set all this up so that he could kill himself at the end?
I mean, I think we can move on. Like we've talked about the thing being a bit of a chore to read. I do also want to acknowledge this is many people's like favorite volume of this book, and they actually really like the art also. So we should probably say something about that before we move on. Like,
Oh yeah, I
guess I get it. Like I understand. Like
They can
there's
have
like,
their
again,
opinions, but they are wrong.
I mean, again, you said like once you get to the back half, the thing moves and you're invested.
I
and you're
enjoyed
ready
the
to
story.
go.
The art is still
The art's a
not
little rough for
doing
me. Like, it's
favors.
just like not quite there until the back half for sure. And I think that maybe that comes down to it being a different inker even in the back half.
The characters or the concept or whatever you want to call them of the kindly ones, I've never liked. I've never fully grasped them, I guess, like fully understood them, which maybe you're not supposed to be able to, but I just don't like them as a conceit. It's just and the fact that they open and close this doesn't help. And like, yeah, just every time they show up.
So I think like that's one of the things that I really wish I'd gotten to go back and check on is like look at every time they'd shown up previously and be like, how did they interact with Dream? What were they doing? Like how much of this was actually foreshadowed from like part one and how much of it was just, hey, I have these pieces and I can figure out how to pull them together. Like, because they're always kind of antagonistic to him when they show up. They never really like him. And I don't know. I think part of that might be because he's the king of stories and they also want to control people's stories. So like maybe that's where their antagonistic relationship kicks off. But we never that's one of the things that we don't really get addressed very much. And I think is a hanging thread that should have been talked about is like, why do they hate him so much? Because they kind of do, right? Like they're just looking for any excuse they can get to get at him. Like he killed Orpheus and they know that, but they need someone else to come trigger them to go after him.
Yeah, they need.
So they're waiting for Lyta.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I don't quite understand why they need her to enact their vengeance. They need a champion. And the funny thing is that, yeah, Lyta doesn't even want, like, her motivations aren't theirs.
Yeah, which is how she gets fucked at the end, right?
Yeah, like oops, you just turned your son into the person that you were trying to kill.
Thessaly's like,
Congrats,
as I understand it, you will never see your son again. Good job. Everyone knows what's going on in this volume too, right? Like except Dream. Dream kind of does too, but like Lucifer knows what's going on, I think, from like page 1. Death has known the whole time. The Furies know what they're doing. Oh, there's one other one where it's like everyone knows what's happening and why, except for Dream. Like
Matthew doesn't.
Odin shows up and has heard rumors.
That's true.
Like,
Matthew doesn't know.
Matthew is confused the whole time.
That's true. Matthew doesn't know.
Matthew doesn't know.
I like
I'm sorry.
rereading this. Is it sort of like recontextualizing this whole? Is this whole series? Dream wants to commit suicide. Like, is that what the series is?
I don't think it's. I don't know if it's the whole series, but it's definitely a good portion of it. Yes.
But like the build up to this, we've always been seeing that like Dream is coming to terms with letting go, right? With loosening up, with not being strict.
I think he's trying to, but can't. Is where we're at.
No,
let Mike, say your question because we're already talking about it.
Right. What was the fucking point?
The dude wants to quit, but can't. It's not in him. He can't do it. It's just not the way he's built. And so instead of being able to quit like his brother did, he has to build himself and this is basically on you, Pat, Rube Goldberg machine of suicide.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
I mean, I think that's it. I think that's the fucking point. And it's been the point, maybe not since Season of Mist, but I think that's definitely part of the kickoff, right? Like, trapped in a bubble for 80 years, comes back, sees that like everything's kind of changed, but at the same time is the same. Not sure what to make of that. Sees Lucifer quit, has to kill his son.
Oops.
And just like it's all kind of, I don't know if boring is the right word, but like he's just kind of over it, I think. And like he can't quit and he can't change it. So there's like one thing left, but he can't quit. So he has to build himself this weird thing where he's like got 5 separate attack vectors that all converge on him at once to leave him vulnerable. Yeah.
to force his hand.
There's so many times in this volume where he has a choice between A and B, and he says, "I have to do this. Like it's my responsibility." Or like he gives Nuala the boon, right?
I have to go to Nuala.
She summons him. He could easily just be like, "No, I need a second." But he knows he doesn't have to. He knows what he's doing at that point. So yeah,
and the fact that didn't even do anything too. It's just like, I will give you a boon. Oh, okay. I want your love. Oh, well, I'll give you the dream of my love. It's like, oh, I already have that. Why did we? What? Gosh, dang it, Nuala.
I mean, that scene's still a little tough for me because it's like she's just trying to help him, and instead she's like an integral part of his death.
I mean, is she though? Like, is it actually her fault that he actually accepts and goes?
No, absolutely not. But
no, Dream uses her to give him that out.
No, but I mean, from her perspective, it is kind of her fault. It definitely is not her fault. He could just have stayed there. But like from her perspective, she tried to help him and basically just like sealed his fate. Because the last thing he had left was he was in the dreaming, so they couldn't like root themselves in it, I guess. I don't know. That part was a little bit fuzzy to me. But like as long as he was there, they couldn't quite take the whole thing.
They could never actually. Well, they couldn't actually kill him. Like, I mean, Dream had to make the decision to.
I was gonna say they don't even end up killing him, right?
They don't.
Just gonna hurt him.
But yeah, I think the point of it was that like, okay, so here's a question for you that kind of gets at it. Who do you think had Loki and Puck capture Daniel and do whatever they did with him, which we think is burning away his mortality, so he's just a dream person?
Like who pointed them at Daniel?
Yeah, because we're told multiple times that like someone set them on that task, right? Like
I mean, I would say Dream probably did somehow.
Yeah, right, which means that like he knowing like how Lyta feels about her son and knowing what he did to Orpheus and knowing that Lyta's like kind of connected to the Furies, like her superhero name is the Fury, like he knows what he's doing when he does that. And at the same time, you're not entirely sure it's him because then he sends Matthew and the Corinthian to go pick up Daniel. Like he doesn't know where he is.
Yeah.
But like I'm there. So I was reading some stuff online beforehand to do research, and like there's like a slight opinion that maybe Desire had them do it.
I don't.
Or that like Loki just did it himself.
I could see that.
Like basically, it's Dream. Like it's part of Dream's elaborate thing to get.
Previously, when Daniel was just born, didn't Dream just show up? Just like he found them and came to Daniel because Daniel was like a part of him.
Yeah, you could easily just go find him, right?
So like he would know, especially if his dreaming self has been separated from the mortal half. Like he would know where a fragment of him would be, right?
Who's the only person, quote unquote, that would want Daniel's mortality burned away? Like, who would want him to be?
Yeah, I don't know what is Loki or
like Desire
Puck
doesn't get anything out of that. Loki doesn't get anything out of that. Like, no one benefits from that except Dream. So like, there's the bit where Loki's like, I don't want to be beholden to anyone, but like he's saying that because he's in the middle of discharging his debt. Like,
why did Puck? What was Puck's motivation for doing it? Like, I got Loki was just being Loki.
But I'm not sure exactly on that one, honestly. That's the one that's more nebulous to me. Is it just?
I don't remember Puck acting with Dream. Maybe he said a couple words to him in A Midsummer Night.
Just kind of runs away, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm a trickster. That like why? I don't know why he was here, other than Loki needed a.
I was gonna say it gives. Well, here's the
accomplice.
thing. Again, A to B to C. It gives Loki someone to talk to, and it gets Nuala in position to want to summon Dream because she knows he's in trouble. Because Puck, that's like she finds out from Puck.
Well, she finds out from her brother, who's a boggart. It's not Puck who talks to her.
No, it's Puck. It's when they're dancing. It's when they're dancing.
You're right. It was Puck. Yeah.
He's like, "Ooh, Dream's in trouble."
Again, but then Puck didn't need to be like he didn't need to be there. Whatever.
Nobody did because otherwise Nuala doesn't summon Dream, and if Nuala doesn't summon Dream, the Furies can't don't put him in that position where he's just like, "Damn it, the only thing I can do is die."
I guess, but I would think that if like the dreaming was being torn apart, Fairy would know about it. Like, I feel like that would have ripples.
That doesn't mean Nuala's gonna know about it though. I mean, again, it's very
I
convoluted.
guess.
It relies on coincidence.
Yeah,
what
like,
else you gonna run
Puck
into Nuala,
danced
yeah.
with her in that one.
But the same,
Dream,
like,
you're a mastermind.
this is a thing that I stole from Reddit, so I'm not going to take credit for it. But like, it is also the king of stories, and he can make the story however he wants. Kind of like,
I don't like that.
I mean, I agree, but like at the same time, it's kind of neat to think of like he's just subconscious writing this whole thing.
If he can write anything he wants and write him walking away from his job like his brother did.
Ah, but he can't though. That would break the rules of the fiction.
But it
There is
doesn't because his brother did it before him, so he knows that
no,
it
his
is an
brother
option.
did it because his brother can do it. He's Dream. He personally cannot do it. He just doesn't have it in him, man. He is who he is.
This is a strange take on suicide. Sort of pro-suicide.
I mean, I don't.
I don't know if I'd go. I don't.
How is it not, Michael? Come at me.
It is fine. Come at you, but it is from the point of view of a eternal being who's killed his own son. So, in this situation, would it be arguably maybe the choice that a lot of people would make, or if I've been alive for millennia upon millennia, and then I have to kill my son?
There's also the fact that he's not actually dead that we have to talk about too, right?
There's also that, like, he's not actually dead.
Like
At
we're
least-
more of a Doctor Who situation than a dead means dead situation.
So what you're saying is he could have burned up a son to tell Nuala he loved.
Don't bring that.
No, we're
Don't
not
do
it. But I mean, I guess I see what you're saying actually, though, Pat. In that, like,
it just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. It's just.
I mean,
I
many
guess
times
it was always building to this, like the slings and arrows of Dream's life post imprisonment has just built to this point, be it because he deemed it so, or just because that's just the way the dice fell.
Yeah, I mean, he has realized he's been kind of shitty, and then he starts to be a little bit less shitty, and then
And he's more shitty.
he decides that maybe someone else should take a turn.
Yeah, it's just like it's a weird.
And I guess the point is that he can't quit. That is a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it, right? Like, there's so many just like disparate chess pieces being moved into position basically because Dream is inflexible on this one point. Like, he has changed throughout the volume. We talked about that in a previous discussion, right? He's like, I haven't changed, and we're like, bullshit.
Yeah,
But he's just tired, I think, honestly. Like,
yeah, it's strange. Like the hypocrisy of Dream. Like dreams are supposed to be like
fantastical.
anything. Like can be anything.
So there's a bit in it's near the back half somewhere, and it's basically just pages of Dream going about his responsibilities.
Oh, yeah.
It's in part 8. Yeah, it's the opening of part 8. And it's just pages of him going about his responsibilities. And like I think
I took that as him, he's decided to kill himself at that point, and he's setting it's the giving away all your worldly possessions and like.
Well, some of it's just his normal stuff, though, right? I mean, there's definitely a read of it that's that. Like,
dotting your I's and crossing your T's, making sure everything will be okay once you're gone. That's what I took away from those scenes.
Well, like, some of it's just minor stuff. It's like 5 kids come to him, and then there's the tribe in Africa, and then there's some other stuff. Like, and I think, continuing, like, our first discussion question, there's a version of the story where you don't need this, but I think it's just like you look at him in that and he's so bored or like indifferent. He doesn't care.
Yeah, see, I read that as just he's made like subconsciously, if not knowingly, made the decision that he is done. Like he is going to.
He does have like he's got a few more eyes. Like he wants to feed the pigeons one more time. He wants to see his favorite play one more time.
Yeah, I feel like he had like a to-do list or like a bucket list of like, okay, these are tedious things that I should get because it'll be embarrassing if I leave a to-do list for the next stream to deal with.
I don't even think he knows what he's doing there in this way.
No, I think it might be subconsciously that he's tying off things.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? Also, because like he's Dream, like he should be acting subconsciously at some point. Like,
sure, right.
I think I wonder if he talked to Loki and Puck, and like we never see it because it's just like he doesn't even know he did it. You know, like that's part of my thing.
Maybe does Dream.
I mean, that's a good question. So I did want to bring up there's a couple throw forwards in Overture that I had forgotten about, but again, I went through some Reddit threads that
In Overture?
that directly relate to this part of the story.
Spoilers. We can't talk about that.
Well,
yet.
I'm not going to talk about them specifically because I want to let you guys come at them fresh. But I'm
Sure.
like, this is a reminder to me, basically, that like it should probably point out those couple throw forwards, and they have to do a little bit with like why he might be acting subconsciously and not even know what he's doing. Also, like there's potentially a little bit more motivation other than just like
Overture is a prequel.
I'm tired.
Right? It like tells
Yeah,
how,
it's volume 0 basically is what I would say.
how he basically was weak enough to get captured by a 2-bit magician.
Yeah, in which apparently like Gaiman had always had at least like the outline of that story in his head while he was writing Monthly Sandman, but just never got to it or wanted to tell it. And so when they came back for the 25th anniversary, which makes me feel old. That's what he was like, oh, I've got that story in my back pocket. We'll do that one. So
Sure.
but yeah, there are a couple tosses forward, I think, that are worth mentioning when we get there.
Yeah, I was looking at the collected volume on Amazon, and yeah, they've got all 10 of the original run. Then they've got Endless Nights as the 11th, which is strange. And then they've got the 2 Dream Hunters.
I don't think I've ever read those, honestly.
I've heard of them. I don't know anything about them. And then they have Overture. So it's a 13 book collection.
See, if I was doing it, I would make Overture Volume 0. Although I guess you don't really want people to read it first. So
there has to be spoilers in there, right?
No, you definitely should not read it first. Don't read Overture first, people listening to the podcast.
I was trying to remember when we did our discussion on Endless Nights way back when. Did we say people should read this before? I think I said they should read it before, and you said it wouldn't work as a prequel.
I think that is how we split on that one. Because I think there's too much context you'd be missing.
Sure. Read it before and after.
Honestly, it might be better.
Yeah, I guess this time around, I'm giving Dream a more critical eye, which makes sense because we're actually spending the time to discuss these things.
I read this book twice, Pat. We have to dive into it.
It's sad.
I mean, it is, right? And I think that's part of that. Also, I think is part of why we had a struggle reading it. Is like it is meant to be a slow motion car crash. You're not supposed to like it in that way. Like it's supposed to be like weighty, and it's supposed to mean something, and it's supposed to be significant. But you're not supposed to like it. You're watching a personification of an idea kill itself.
Yeah, a Greek tragedy where you know the outcome. You just got to watch it happen.
And not even in like a quick way, because there's so many. Because he's still got to obey the fucking rules, right? Like he can't just do it, because that would require him to shirk his responsibilities. He has to play this elaborate chess game in which he's lined up the pieces and like codes and rules in such a way that they stack out to the result he wants. It's wild, man.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah. Just like some sort of like overture thing, or like if there would be another volume where it shows like the subconscious Dream setting these dominoes up beforehand. But maybe that would just be too much of a peek behind the curtains.
Have we talked about how Matthew's the best boy in the series?
I did think it was really cool that we find out that Lucian was the first
Was a Raven
of Dream. It's like, oh, that makes sense.
See, again, stuff that changes.
Yeah.
It's all changes and deaths and changes, man. It's like it feels tangential at times. You're like, do I really like? I feel bad about Zelda dying. Do I really need to see Zelda die? But you're like, oh, okay, I see how it kind of tied back in. All right.
No.
See how it was kind of necessary. I get it.
So I think Rose's stuff could go. I think Lucifer's stuff could go. I think I could tighten this up and it would still be okay.
I think it's so Rube Goldberg-y, man. You can't take a piece out, then your toast won't pop up at the end.
Well, what did Lucifer, like, what did he do that kicked the ball down the road? I don't think he did. I think he just played some nifty tunes and said some snarky things. It was
his nightclub that Lyda went to when Daniel was kidnapped.
But it could have been any. Okay, sure.
But it's more meaningful than it's Lucifer.
No. Anyways, what is your question right here?
I have decided to change my question because I am not
Oh.
inflexible like Dream. I have decided to semi-steal Mike's second question because it was also my alternate question in case Mike didn't have a question. So it feels like something we should talk about.
Excellent.
In that two of us landed on it. So my question would be, whose death, other than Morpheus's, was the most impactful on you in this story?
I mean, the answer is Mervyn, because it's Mervyn. And I thought the whole story was about Mervyn.
It was actually 13 issues about why Mervyn dying would be terrible.
Oh no, it all leads to Murph dying. Oh no.
There is
Mervyn
actually an
was a
alternate
fucking
discussion we could
cuphead.
have about just like power ranking side characters from the Dreaming, which I don't know we need to do this time or not. But Mervyn, high up there. Me, I think I'm a Matthew guy overall, but
Yeah, we know it's about
Yeah,
you.
but he doesn't die, so he.
no, can't talk about Matthew for this question. But
So Murph, just because he had a pretty badass death.
Hey, I can see you. Throw down your weapons. Just surrender peacefully, and no one will get hurt. Talking to the Furies, who are actively killing his boss and destroying his home. I will. Hey, surrender, and I won't kill you.
the working man's just out here trying to defend his home.
He's a union man. More than that, he was a union man. God damn.
And then he just gets
Mervyn.
blasted into goddamn pieces. It is telling that Mervyn's death is, I think, the thing that just breaks Lucian. Lucian's like, okay,
how dare you?
Gone on long enough, man. Like, you can let Fiddler's Green die. That guy betrayed us all. Mervyn paints your goddamn
Merv
sky.
actually did things. He's the one that does stuff. Yeah, no, I can see that.
That's a solid choice.
Humanity's this. Bada, 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 bada.
Who was the dream character with Merv when he died?
Oh,
like
that's
muscly bound.
just that guy
dude?
that's been around with him. I think that's actually the one that paints. Oh no,
Oh, the
Tiny.
clouds
Tiny
or
is the
whatever
guy
it
who
is?
paints the clouds. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of Mervyn's union workers. You know how it is.
Okay.
They're union men.
I do think we've reached the point in the story at this point too, where like the art has gotten better. Again, I think it might be down to the inker. I'd have to check the credits to make sure, but like Mervyn's death is also rendered very well. This part of it.
Yeah, the character's name is a Buddha.
God's fear.
I don't know him. And maybe it was like a DC character. I don't know. He has a distinct design to him.
I only remember seeing him earlier in this volume, honestly. I think it's one of the times when like Mervyn's talking shit about Dream and then Dream shows up. He's like, no, boss.
Shit.
God damn it.
We have hounded kings and angels. We have taken vengeance on worlds and on universes. Yeah, well, I'm a fucking. Come at me, bruh.
Humanity's this.
Pumpkin with the machine.
Yeah, it did. Lucian's like, Morpheus, you let him die. How dare you?
He's just talking. So, like, that's the thing, too, right? We're talking about, like, was this, like, a slow motion suicide or not? Lucian even asked him, like, why aren't you just bringing the stuff back? Like, he could, like, while he's in the dreaming, he could easily have just stopped them or made their assault pointless at, like, any time. Just chose not to. Because, like, Nuala says he wants to be punished as part of it. But, there's also more than that, too, I think. It's just kind of over it.
Yeah, that sort of goes into my choice. And my choice is the Griffin hit me the hardest.
That one's so rough, actually.
The first death.
That panel where he says, my lord, I can't feel you, my lord.
Yeah.
Wrecked me the first time through and wrecked me even harder the second time through. Like, I set the book down for a second, actually. It's just... Because, like, it's one of those things where it's like... So as a person who maybe used to be religious and is not now, like... It doesn't really matter to me, like, whether there is a god or not. There might be. Not a big deal. But in the fiction, this Griffin knows that he's, like...
Served loyalty.
Yeah, like, and also is, like, very tightly connected to Dream. Like, Dream feels it, right? Like, Dream knows when that happens, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't bring him back. What the hell?
Well, yeah, I didn't get that scene when, like, he even says, well, I can just bring him back. Like, he never died.
But he does it.
And then he doesn't. And the Fury's like, well, look at your Griffin.
Said they have a funeral.
It's so sad. The funeral's so sad. Look at the dragon and the unicorn. They're so sad. And the dragon's like, you better fucking stray from the path because you deserved
Stray from
to
the
get
path.
got. Yeah, that one hit me because it's
Yeah, that one's rough, man.
That one's not even.
just the griffin doing its job.
Just
And-
doing his another
And
union man.
Morpheus just abandons him. Just sits by and watches.
Oh, I'm looking at that panel again. It's messing me up again.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a clean death like other people. Like Merv got shot to bits. And then what?
No, he's
Fiddler
Please,
Green got
Merv
stabbed.
shot first.
an immortal
Merv shot
dream
first.
being that gets aged to death.
Yeah, he like
What the hell?
It's horrific. It's not a nice death. So yeah, I'd say the Griffin is the one that got me. What about you, Matt?
Matthew.
It's Abel for me.
Really?
Yeah,
The guy who gets killed all the time?
yeah, because he gets killed again in a way that he's not supposed to. Like he gets killed all the time, and like he's like, okay, I made my peace with the fact that I get killed all the time. It's my thing. And then these ladies show up. They're not supposed to be allowed to kill him. Dream lets him die anyways.
Does it say something like "You can't kill me, you don't love me" or something like that?
Right? It's just
It's
like,
like oh,
for
Abel.
him, like for him being killed is like such a meaningful thing that to be killed by them is like,
Well, it's twisted
like
because
anathema
he
to him.
sees the murdering that his brother does to him as
Kind of.
Cain showing his love for him. It's like those guys are so twisted.
But like what really messes me up about that one is that Abel knows that Dream could stop them at any time.
Yeah.
Like that's what gets me. So I'm gonna read this, like, because Abel's also a rules guy. He knows like about the rules, like Dream does. I
He
know
knows
the
secrets.
rules. You don't kill anyone. You don't hurt anyone. You find someone who spilled family blood and you drive them to suicide or to repentance. Like he knows the conditions under which they stop, and he knows Dream knows the conditions under which they stop, and Dream's still letting this happen. Like that fucks with me a little bit, honestly. Of like this guy who's like is killed all the time under the rules, understands the rules of this time he's being killed, doesn't want to be killed, and knows that his quote unquote master could have stopped it if he wanted to.
Yeah, it's the Dream Lord in the center of his power in the dreaming.
And then
Things
the
only
Guardian
happen
Dragon,
because he
yeah.
allows them to happen. Yeah, it's just like, come on.
And I think Abel might also understand. Again, this is a reach, but I think Abel might also understand why Dream can't and or won't stop it. Because
The
like
suicide mission or the, yeah.
like suicide or repentance. He's not going to repent for killing Orpheus. Like I think killing Orpheus was really hard on him, and I think he wishes he hadn't had to do it. But like I think he also understands that maybe he should have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
So he's not going to repent. It's a thing that he did, and I think for him at least, it was the correct choice to do the thing. So like there are two options, and only suicide is left. So again, Dream has been pushed into this corner by himself.
I think Dream
Anyways.
painted himself in that corner.
Right? But yeah, that's why Abel's got me. Plus then you get the panel of Goldie.
Oh, Goldie.
Right. That's no good.
Goldie crying.
Cain saved him, though. It's all right.
Yeah.
So nobody's sad about Gilbert?
I mean, Gilbert got to have his last say. He got to, I feel like he went out the way he wanted to.
He got to say his whom.
Didn't have no regrets in the end for that Gilbert.
You know who else didn't have regrets?
Who?
Mervin. Fucking. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna take as many you fuckers with me as I can. Turns out as many as he could take was 0.
Zero.
But he did.
Yeah.
But he did it. Goddamn, what a man.
What a pumpkin man.
Give him a raise.
Right? Yeah. Now we got a white colored dream.
Different now. Spooky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Should we read the issues of JLA where Daniel shows up?
Does he really? I don't want to.
Okay, so no, we won't. We won't read them for this podcast.
I don't want
We're
to.
not completists, but they're good because they're written by Grant Morrison.
Oh, okay.
So
Does it actually tie into the plot of the comic?
a tiny bit? You see the same treasure chest that Dream has in this, like every so often, where he's got like stuff locked away
Oh, okay.
in that story too.
Yeah. Well, I also thought it was interesting when Dream talked about the other stones, gems of power that he talks about the ruby that we saw mess shit up. But he said there's like 11, or like there's a lot of them, he said.
Yeah, which apparently we've already encountered one in A Game of You is the one with Barbie and the cuckoo and stuff, right?
Oh, is there another one in there?
Apparently he gave one to the lady who initially
at
owned
the
that
end?
island. And like he breaks it, I think, at the end, and that's why. Or he broke it already before they got there. I don't remember, but we have encountered one of the other ones in the past. Again, I really wish I owned all of the volumes to be able to go back and look at this stuff.
What do you guys think of what's her face? The glasses lady.
Thessaly?
Which what do you think of her ending in the story?
What do you think about the fact that we finally get revealed, like, who put Dream's heart in like such a damper in that volume where he's like, I was in love and now it's terrible again, and it's her. Like, it's just her. She's not that. She's fine, I guess, but like, what?
Wow. Wow. I mean, I like Thessaly.
So fucking heartbroken, and like, she doesn't even seem like a person who could come close to loving another person.
Yeah, but I think that when we discussed that earlier, we decided it was more performative grief than it was actual grief.
Right?
It was just him. I think he enjoyed grieving more than he enjoyed the relationship itself. So
I mean, maybe he seems pretty hurt in this one. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he's hurt because she's literally. I don't even know because I guess does Dream want to kill himself? I guess is the question. Because if it's yes, then why would he be upset with her?
I don't know if it's even wants to. I think he feels he must. Is that weird?
Like,
It's his responsibility.
She's technically betraying him by giving Lita the protection so that he can't physically like murder her mortal form. I mean, there's nothing preventing him from killing Thessaly in that moment, but he doesn't. He just
That's the thing, right? Is like
spitefully destroys all our windows.
He could still have killed Lita there. Like, he even acknowledges it. The only reason he doesn't is because, quote unquote, there are rules.
Yeah, which I feel like was a stretch at that point. Like,
he is so locked into, I've been forced into this position. Well, he makes choices all over this. Like, not making a choice or like choosing to obey quote unquote rules. It's still making a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what Thessaly was paid off by the Furies, right? Isn't that what she said? Like,
He gets to live a little bit longer, yeah.
A couple thousand extra years.
They won't snip her cord. Yeah, she's an she's a complicated character, which I appreciate.
I appreciate her wanting to kill Hippolyta at the end.
I was gonna say I really love her ending scene. Her ending scene
made it.
You better get running because lots of people are going to kill you for what you did.
You go take a shower, and then you might want to leave. Here's some tea. There's a lot of people going to kill you, me included. Meanwhile, reading.
Which is a little apocryphal because she's just as much to blame as Lita is. Whatever.
In a book full of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
What's a little extra?
Yeah.
Oh no, it was Lita's fault.
A grieving mother. Oh, really? Daniel's okay.
I mean, Daniel's great. Daniel's fine.
Daniel's fine.
He's the protagonist of the book now.
Is it Daniel though? I guess I got to reread the Wake and see how much.
I mean, we'll find out.
Daniel
right?
is still.
I think that's
Daniel.
Supposed to be an open question at this point, so that'll be one we can come back to next time with the lovely listeners.
Mm-hmm. Was it Daniel in the mirror with the nemesis for Claricon or whatever his name is? Because I'm pretty sure it's a white-haired Dream that like lures him off the path.
Yeah, I think it is the Daniel version.
So, like, why is he seated to the future, and why is Daniel creating a nemesis for
that?
Whatever.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know if it comes up in the Wake or not.
I mean, part of it is like time and cause and effect are a bit screwy in this volume on purpose, right? We're told, like,
sure.
We get our answer to when and how did Dream show up to free Claricon in Volume 8, and it's he didn't. It's a thing that didn't happen but did.
Yeah, and as much as I dislike the art in this, the scenes with Dream and Death, like sitting on top of the mountain or wherever they are, pretty moving, like him creating the little bread that she could throw at him if she wanted to, and then
the
him
callback
creating
is
pigeons for
great.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think maybe that is part of why we struggled, is because like the art does noticeably improve in the back half, even though
It's
it's the
so
same.
much better the second half. Like the first half is agonizing, second half is actually enjoyable. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's same artist, different inker, and that's probably like that. I've been meaning to write a blog post for a while about the power of inkers, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are
And
some
maybe it's
artists
just like
that are
the
really
events.
intense.
The events later in the comic lend itself to breaking the layout formula that they've been sticking to. But yeah,
I mean, the
it's
layout's pretty much the same, I think, honestly. Like, there's still a lot of grid.
yeah. Anyways, we're rehashing at this point. Yeah, you guys got anything else to say on the kindly ones?
I'm
before we wrap
excited to
up?
read The Wake. I remember The Wake being entertaining.
It's gorgeous, if I remember. Sorry, Mike, you're
Superman.
excited. What? Read Superman? Is that what you said?
We're gonna see Superman.
Oh yeah, it's already just show up at the Wake, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
part of the reason that if I shelved this, I shelved it with my DC superhero bullshit is the fact that Batman,
silly.
Superman, and Martian Manhunter show up in The Wake.
So silly.
Martian Manhunter makes a second appearance in Sandman.
I mean, also, the main character of this volume is Wonder Woman of Earth 2's daughter. So, I mean,
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
like, it's DC bullshit all the way down.
Yeah. Does Lita actually? Is she in DC Comics?
Yeah, she's like
Uh,
a member of Infinity Incorporated, I think, which is like the JSA's Teen Titans.
oh
If
boy.
that makes sense.
Oh
There's a
jeez.
whole deep dive we could do into that, but that's not what the people who want to hear about
Let's
Sandman are here
Put
for.
a pin in that, please.
Hmm.
I'm not sure I want to hear
Well,
about
you
it.
see, Lyta was Wonder Woman of Earth 2's daughter, but then
Well, I
Earth 2
think
no
that'll
longer.
do it for our discussion of the
We
kindly
can talk about
ones.
Aaron Rodgers. That'll be fun.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, next time we'll be talking about the 10th and final volume of The Sandman, The Wake. Till then, don't go break any of those rules. Bye.
Bye.
Boom.